book where there speaks his voice like a stream through valleys of sorrow, through Ella's dream. The candles burn low, the night stretches wide, a tale of a princess, a love she can't hide. Oh, Ella, her heart's in a cage, bound by a crown and her father's rage. She waits for the dawn, for the stars above. Will someone come? Will someone bring love? Her suitors brought gold, their banners held high, but love can't be bought, though many may try. The king in his pride, he turned them away. Ella still waits for her own chosen day. Through the book's worn pages, the story does flow. The book where there whispers what only he knows. Oh, Ella, her heart's in a cage, bound by a crown and her father's rage. She waits for the dawn, for the stars above. Will someone come? Will someone bring love? The moon hears her cries, the wind feels her tears, the forest stands witness to all of her fears. The book weather pauses, the room holds its breath. Each word carries hope, each word fights her death. The book where there speaks his voice like a stream through valleys of sorrow, through Ella's dream. The candles burn low, the night stretches wide, a tale of a princess, a love she can't hide. Oh, Ella, her heart's in a cage, bound by a crown and her father's rage. She waits for the dawn.
He sat for another few minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Then discreetly checked his watch again. Time seemed to have slowed down. Giggity. All right.
Should have waited and called in again.
Ow! My head just came off.
Seems quiet. Too quiet.
It felt more like 25 minutes to have passed. Not 5!
I'm Batman. Gotham is never safe without me.
You ready? Does this hurt? Oh! Okay, the best
Some
part is...
reinforcement, please. Red thought he was fancy.
What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. Okay, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hunger gnawed at him. You can attach towers? Shut up. I've been trying to practice my glamoring. Look at me. Ooh.
Impromptu performance this evening, which I must say was indeed a welcome distraction.
And he decided that if she allowed him to use the bathroom to pee, then she probably wouldn't stop him from using the kitchen.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. You're very kind. This is gonna be funny.
Good evening. Welcome to Sunday. I hope everyone's having a fantabulous day.
Hello there.
Hello there. Renato. Verda, congrats on redeeming first place. Well done. Golf clap. Golf clap. Night Marcher. I can call you Night Marcher because it's nighttime. Otherwise, I will call you Day Marcher. But anyway, Dry, thank you so much for the resub, 10-month and a 10-month streak. I appreciate it. Sincerely. That is... Where is my counter? I really do need to dedicate, like, a lot of time. Whether it's half a stream, a full stream, I don't know. Just to make sure that I get through some of these wheel spins because they are a lot. I'm looking at it right now. There's 54. That's a lot. Purple, it is lovely to see you. Stunt Mama's Mama. Hello. Renato, of course. My liege. Having dinner. Ooh. Oh my goodness, there's a red thorn here as well. Did you get a new haircut? Or did you just wash it? I mean... a little both. I do get a haircut fairly recently. Every 5 to 6 weeks. And I do wash it. More frequently than 5 to 6 weeks. Made some progress on my blanket today. Well, that's great. And to hydrate. Someone's slacking. What are you talking about? My tea might be a little hot.
I'm proud of you, you know that.
Well, thank
I hope
you.
You do.
Proud of you, too. You posted pictures in Stunt Discord? Cool. I will have to take a peek. This is your castle for today. OM Goodness. Super. Thank you for the tier 1 at 38 months. That's a little over a 3-year period. What is going on right now? Kay, thank you so much. Thank you for your subscription. And for 17 months. You guys are... You guys are too much. I really, really do appreciate it, sincerely. Where's my mouse? Come back. Sincerely. And
What's left is a window to my soul. Come and get it.
that is so loud. Thank you. But
Kay's here. Kay's here. Kay is here. Kay is in my stream. Kay's here. Oh my god. Kay. Hi, Kay. Hi. Okay. Stay calm. Breathe. Hi, Kay.
hello, Kay. Kay, are you okay? Are you okay? Kay. Completely forgot what I was gonna say. Purple, thank you for the 100 bits. Y'all are nuts.
Yep, that tasted purple.
Did taste a little bit purple. I got it a little bit in my mouth. Right. It's here. What I was gonna say is right in front of me. We're keeping track of the marble races. Okay. As soon as I remember where my pen went. Oh, it's right here in front of me. Hello. So yeah. Let's see. Last reading stream, which was on December 2nd, the first stream for the month of December. Kay, you took first place. Stunt Mama's Mama took second, and Verda took third. So the three of you have points as of right now. This chat reminds me of when I lost my pants at the Glitter Factory. That's so bad it hurts. It's so bad it hurts. So I'm going to set that aside. And I popped the lid off so I could let my tea cool down since we have a hydrate, redeem, dry. Stop it. Thank you for the 100 bits. Guys, just, you don't have to get all weird on me. It's Sunday. That's some good tea. It soothes the soul. Okay, I opened my podcast merch shop today. Ooh. What kind of stuff are you offering? You doing like t-shirts, sweaters, maybe blankets, or a mug? A variety. Lovely. Well, that's fantastic. Yay. If there's bathwater, I'm out. Well, damn. Hold on. Okay, the bathwater has been removed. Saturday, we, as a family, went to see the second Wicked movie. Wicked for Good. And it was pretty freaking awesome. Not gonna lie. And then today, my son had a friend come over, so I decided, you know what? I'm going to treat them to a movie. So I took them both to see Zootopia 2, which did not disappoint. You have to have seen the first one, though. Otherwise, there are definite moments where the second movie would not make sense if you have not seen the first. But overall, fantastic movie. Very well done. We just have some logo stuff right now, but we will branch out a bit after we settle on some cheeky one-liners. Ooh. Everyone loves a cheeky one-liner. Book bonk? Okay. Hello, Professor Petty. Ow. Should have called it Zootopia. Phoenix, we do a lot of head shaking around here. It's true. But to Red's point, it's valid. Oh, I need one of those. I need like one of those back scratching things where you can, just right in the shoulder. Okay, I think I got it. Head shaking, eye rolling, etc. Yes, pretty much. I've missed you guys. I really have. I was able to give today also the 2 tables that I had made for my neighbors, which was well received, which was great. And I've been designing a table set. So, dining table, coffee table, side table. I don't have room to store a dining table, so I am instead, as kind of like a proof of concept, I am creating the coffee table. I've got, I think, all of the pieces cut. I still have some sanding left to do. And then it's assemble and, do all the staining and making it look nice stuff. There would be audible groaning, but the streamer is the only one with a mic. Do you want me to make up for it? If you see a fire out behind your neighbor's house tonight, don't worry about it. Yeah. They're not allowed to burn it because I stained it, and you're not supposed... it doesn't stop anybody. There's no physical barrier. But, I'm sure it's not a coincidence at all. Not in the slightest. Well, I hope you've all had a fantabulous weekend. Do they understand that? I hope so. Just gonna go with a yes. For the most part. Uh-oh. If you had said for the most part and then just one period, I would have been like, okay. But you put like 3 periods, which means there's more to the story. This will be a wonderful way to end the weekend. Dry, stop it. But I'm glad I can be part of it. And I mean that for everybody. I am thrilled to bits when you all show up time and time and time again just to hear me read a book. Sometimes I don't get it, and other times I just sit in humility and with gratitude. And tonight's that night. I am so gracious. Wait, I think I missed something. New Redeem, Bookfather Sigh. Just like a sound bite. God, that scared me. Super. Thank you for the 500. Did you just say bits? No. Oh, I did say every bit of it, didn't I? But I didn't say bits, so it doesn't count. Technically. But either way, thank you for that. Super made a joke too. Yep.
Is it hot in here? Are you hot? I mean, you are hot.
I mean, I was hot, but then I made a tiny little crack in the window because it's, what is the temperature? It is 10 degrees outside. My door's closed. Even though this room is much bigger than the closet that I was using before, this PC still seems to kick out a crap ton of heat. So, definitely needed a little more cooling down. Which state has the most streets? Rhode Island. Now that I'm stealing. That's a good one. Fahrenheit. 10 Fahrenheit. You could also twist that and say something like, which state was driven in the most in 2025? Rhode Island. I was going to say, I know we're going to have single digits tonight, and you seem to get it first. Yes. Tomorrow, I'm gonna head up, after work, I'm gonna head up to Marion to go fix someone's floor, and I gotta pack, like, a ton of stuff. So you're finally out of the closet. I am. Hi. It's not snowing in Miami? All right, Renato. No one likes to show off. You know what? Let's just read a damn book. Renato over here. Just messing it up for everyone. All right. So, just in case you missed the dealio. That's right. I said dealio. I will not be... Why'd you have a knife, Phoenix? Anyway, Phoenix has a knife. I will not be joining these races. And after the Grand Prix is finished, I will write down our first, second, and third place winners. And at the end of the month, whoever has the most points will win a prize. Guess he doesn't want to take a stab at first place. No, it would be rigged if I joined. So I can't give myself the prize. You know what I mean? So don't be difficult, Red. Even though I know that's like your... If you could get paid for it, you would do it. Welcome in. Lovely to see you. Please sit back, relax if you can, and I will read you a story. We're on chapter 4 tonight, page 30. Here we go. A few days later, Ayla walked across the courtyard to the castle chapel with Sybil behind her. They were about to start their journey to Syria, and Ayla wanted to ask the Lord for a safe voyage. Not that she believed they would encounter danger, but one could never be sure. The courtyard stirred with noisy commotion, announcing the inevitable departure of the royal Yes, I almost said cottage. The royal cottage. But that is not correct. The royal... Actually, what is that? Cortege? 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 I've never seen it used that. Is it cortege? Either way. What do you mean something ain't right? Is that cottage the one we watched? The goats go by in the ocean? Yes. I'll have you know, Dry, that clip from my recap was the most popular clip. So, congratulations. You did it. Cortege. Reading as Arnold. Okay. Barely into it. And now we're reading as Arnold. Arr. Horses snorted. Stable boys ran last-minute errands. And the royal family waited patiently for the signal to leave. Yeah. Get to the chopper. Her prayer said, Ayla returned to the waiting party. Bodhi sat straight on his mount, a curious gaze in Ayla's direction. Although his face remained expressionless, his cold eyes followed her every move. Do you ever wonder if Arnold wakes up from a bad dream and just goes, oh, and now we're doing aggressive reading. You're just getting them all out. All right, cool. So he never wanted to be the Terminator. He wanted to be Kyle Reese. Bodis give me the creeps, Ayla said in a low voice, nudging her maid. He's got a mean look to him. He's all right if you keep your distance. Besides, he's not much of a talker. I tried once or twice, but gave up. The prince said he's the royal family's most trusted man. It's a man. He is. Ayla slowed her pace. What do you know about him? Well done, Purple. Well done indeed. Aggressive Arnold. Now that would be something, wouldn't it? 60 seconds on the clock. Only that he saved the king's life once when a horse fell on him in battle. Is that why he limps? From what I heard, yes. Sybil replied, gazing over at the monarch. Apparently, when the enemy charged, the king's stallion reared, and his highness fell. Bodis rushed to his side, but the horse's hooves had struck the king's leg. Ayla nodded. For his bravery, Bodis became king's protector and was gifted a dagger. I'll protect you, shing, with my dagger. The one he's always fondling at his waist. That's the one. The king had it specially made with an intricate hunting pattern. Ayla stared at the hunter sitting proudly on his mount. Does he come from around here? Oh, no. He's from Cavalon. Ayla turned her attention to her maid. Cavalon? The king's most trusted man is not even from his own kingdom. Cavalon is renowned for its excellent horses and breeders. Bodis was hired to be the marshal many years back, and... Are you ready, Ayla? The queen called from the royal carriage, impatience deforming her voice. We have a long journey ahead. Fondling daggers, eh? Quite like the one you're rolling around with? See what I did there? Rolling. Oh, stop. Ayla mounted Nova while Sybil rushed to get onto her horse. The queen had suggested the princess travel with her in the carriage. Ayla knew she should have accepted, and maybe form a bond with her mother-in-law, but she had politely refused, saying her horse needed the exercise. Besides, she wanted to ride with her husband. Ayla rode out of the courtyard beside Ovander, an amused grin on her face. The king and queen made a strange couple, complete opposites in both character and physique. The queen tall and proud, her husband a little shorter and friendlier. Turning to face Ovander, Ayla could see the likeness with his father. A younger version of the king. Same dark eyes, same pointed jawline. Unfortunately, his character mirrored that of the queen's. That took me so long to figure out what you were referencing. That's a knife, which is not the same as a dagger. It's the closest thing I could get to, obviously. Come on. See the connection. I digress. Bodis led the front part of their escort, the royal banner floating in the breeze. Over her shoulder, a dozen soldiers wearing the royal colors of crimson and white trotted behind them, closing the party. A crowd had gathered outside the castle walls, waving and cheering. Heat radiated through Ayla's chest while she breathed in the fresh air. Field after field of golden crops stretched to the horizon, blanched by the blaze of the sun. Phoenix. Well done. That humor just cuts me up. I hope it doesn't cut too deeply now. That would be terrible. Autumn was a little over a month away, but the sun's rays continued to scorch. A few farmers paused from laboring the land to watch the cortege. Ayla waved, happy to be returning to Syria, back to visit her father and her beloved nursemaid. Only a week had passed since leaving her castle, but she longed to see everyone again. After an afternoon of intense riding, they arrived at the narrow stretch of land that separated Lusania from the other kingdoms. In reality, Lusania was a peninsula with a crossing no wider than the breadth of 6 horsemen riding side by side. This is so beautiful, Ayla told Ovander, taking in the breathtaking view of the sea. Riding along this piece of land is captivating. I'm just as fascinated today as I was a week ago when I arrived. I couldn't agree more. But it hasn't always been peaceful here. Really? This stretch of land leads directly to Freeland, he emphasized. I know. Then the west through the mountains valley of Darien, and north to my kingdom of Seria. A few years back, the barbarians of Darien slipped through the valley and crossed unsummoned into Lusania. Ayla gasped. But within hours, the invaders were invited to retreat. The prince boasted. They were informed that should they wish to speak with my father, they need to send an official missive. And did they? Of course. Darien's prince visited my father, and they signed an agreement for trade. But no one knows when the urge might take them to invade Lusania again. Ayla knew that one of the reasons Lusania needed to form an alliance with Saria was to secure allies in case of an eventual war. And what better alliance than through marriage? You missed a round, oh no. That could mean your place on a podium. I think you'll be okay. Maybe. The last rays of light stretched out across the coastline, slowly descending behind the mountains. Time to settle down for the night. And for Dry to scoop up a win. Well done, sir. Oh, Kay missed it as well. Y'all gotta start paying attention now. You understand? Ayla walked along the coastal cliffs of Saria and looked out to the sea while the king's men pitched 2 huge tents for the royal family. Bodis had chosen an encampment beside a stream for the whole cortege, with easy access to water for cooking. Campfires surrounded the main tents. Soldiers surrounded the fires. Men's voices floated in the air along with the melodious sound of a flute. Ayla hummed to the tune, happy to be on her home ground. If she could slip away and bathe in the sea, she'd be even happier. Alas, it didn't look as if that would be possible for the time being. And then there was a break in the story. You know, every time I say that, I want to be like, this just in. Ayla dips in sea surrounded by men. More at 10. Oh, so I have this new song that I use for Helldivers. I played it on Thursday. But today I spent some time, yesterday and today, I spent some time updating and making a video to go with it. So the next time we play Helldivers, I'll have a custom music video, essentially, to go with it. Mr. Thump Gaming, sir, how the heck are you? I know I need a chime when a race ends. You know, I think I turned that stuff off, but when this race ends, see if I can remember to add some sort of, audible alert. Oh, look at Kay getting back on track. Get it? Track. Audio. Oh, yes. Let's go with 25%. Next. Thump Gaming, it is good to see you, sir. I hope you are doing well. Right, so there was a break in the story. let's see what happens. The cortege neared King Sayre's castle late morning the next day, after another 6 hours of riding. Gathering crowds roared their admiration and words of congratulation on Ayla's marriage, delighting her. The people were cheering their princess home. A fanfare of trumpets welcomed them, mingling with clattering hooves on the cobblestones. King Sayre stood in front of his castle, his household a little further behind. Ayla leapt from her mount and ran into her father's arms while the squire grasped Nova's bridle and led the horse to the stables. Ayla knew her behavior was unladylike, but did she care? No. This was her home, and the royal household knew what to expect. She wouldn't change her ways now, especially on home ground. She turned from embracing her father and caught Thalia peering out of the carriage, mouth drawn. Olvander and his father, on the other hand, gazed around the courtyard, a warm glow in their eyes. Your Highness! No, wait. Your Highnesses, plural. Sayre said, waving over the stable boys. Welcome to Saria. I hope you had an excellent journey. We did indeed, replied Lucan, dismounting and taking both of Sayre's hands in his. This affectionate gesture pleased Ayla until she noticed the knowing look Lucan slipped to his wife, who, straight as a ramrod in her peacock green riding attire, waited for someone to help her descend from the carriage. The queen nodded in return, mirroring her husband's look. What was that supposed to mean? Evander jumped from his mount and helped his mother while more stable boys came running. The queen made a show of swishing her gown repeatedly to remove the dust, a pout on her lips. My lady, Sayre called, bowing low to the queen, which released a little tension from her jaw. I'm sure you must all be exhausted. My housekeeper will show you to your rooms where you can freshen up. That would be most welcoming, thank you, the queen replied. She turned gracefully and rested her hand on her husband's arm, following the housekeeper and her son across the courtyard. I've put you and Olvander in the south wing, her father said. Ayla glanced at her husband. Would being away from Lusania and royal duties make him more relaxed? She had a pleasant journey in his company. The prince had been quite talkative, explaining the kingdom's history, even answering some of her questions. Of course, Papa. And what about my maid Sybil? I thought she'd be happy. Oh, yes. I thought she'd be happy with your nursemaid. Ayla smiled. I'm sure she will. A while later, they sat to eat at a long table. Sayre at one end, Ayla on his right, opposite Queen Thalia. The prince sat next to Ayla, facing his father. Sybil and Ayla, nursemaid, sat at the table nearby. The two women spoke non-stop, laughing and joking. But not about purple, adding some points to the board. Well done. All right. You know, I forgot to turn up the noises because I didn't hear a darn thing. Red Thorn, you were supposed to remind me. After these three laps are done, I need to check on the noises again. Cook had prepared one of Ayla's favorite dishes, fillet of mullet wrapped in seaweed. Ding! Beautiful and crispy on the outside, flaky and tender on the inside. Ayla ate with appetite, tiny groans escaping from the back of her throat with each mouthful. She missed the seafood, not to mention Cook's special dessert, a delicious custard tart. "Is it true, say it?" Queen Thalia began, peering at the king from over the rim of her glass, "that mermaids exist?" She took a sip of her wine and displayed one of her sweetest smiles. Ayla fidgeted and lowered her eyes to examine a tiny scratch on the table. She lifted a finger and rubbed it. "I do believe it to be true," Saya replied, placing a hand over his daughter's. "But that was a long time ago, when the island belonged to the merfolk." "I believe they were from this part of the island," Ovander added. "From Syria." "Apparently so. Such beautiful legends." Ayla sensed the pressure of her father's fingers. The king wouldn't admit they'd existed, and that he'd married one. She dared a peek in his direction and spotted the slight sheen of perspiration on his forehead. "I've heard they were cousins to the dolphins," Lucan exclaimed, coming out of his silence. "I heard that too," Saya replied, waving over one of the young pages to fill their goblets. "I wonder why they died out," Thalia continued. Saya released Ayla's hand and wiped the corners of his lips on his napkin. "Who knows? Probably for the best," Ovander stated, wrinkling his nose. "Such awful things. Half fish, half human. How repulsive." "I couldn't agree more with you," Lucan added, holding out his goblet to be refilled. "Celebrating Dry's victory. Well done." Settings. Audio. All sounds. We don't need music. We don't need no music. I've doubled the sounds from the last time. Tripled, actually, 75%, 200% increase. Math. Ayla stiffened as I started the next race. She didn't appreciate the way the prince spoke about her family, calling them repulsive creatures. How could he talk about something he knew nothing of? "Shall we take a walk along the port?" Ayla exclaimed, creating a diversion from the delicate subject of mermaids and their kingdom. "I'm sure you would all like to see where your crops will be sailing from." "Oh, sweetie, he's a man." "Yeah." "Men. Am I right?" Jeepers. Thala's face had changed from a thin pout to a fixed gaze of politeness. The queen appeared charming. No one seemed to notice the difference. Ayla did. Oh, so there was a definite noise of sorts when the race began. But I'm not sure if there's a noise for when the race is over. Okay, he's a rich man. Yeah, but he's still a man. The small party rose and headed out of the banqueting hall. Ayla tagged behind, unable to focus on the chitter-chatter between her father and Lucan in front of her. Negative thoughts whirled through her mind, especially when the conversation had turned to the legends of merfolk. "Is this where the mermaids came, sir?" Thalia asked. They'd reached the bottom of the steep steps leading from the castle to the wharf and were gazing out at the sea. "I've no idea," the king replied, giving his daughter a sideways glance. "But I should imagine so. And probably not only here, but all along the coast." The queen's sudden interest in mermaids began grating on Ayla's nerves. Time to leave everyone and slip away. "Shall we take our guests to our warehouse?" Saya asked his daughter. So much for trying to get away. Excellent idea," replied Lucan. "I'd be interested to see the landing place for your ships and how trade functions. We may even take a trip on one of my smaller vessels," Saya said. "I'd like that, to see how Lusania will use your ports for exporting our crops in the future." Over her shoulder, Ayla saw a servant. Ayla saw a servant guiding the moaning queen along the cobblestones to the port. She wondered if Thalia was more concerned about twisting an ankle on the uneven ground, or the fact that she wasn't in command of the situation. It's probably both. They arrived at the sheltered port with its jutting quay. Fishermen shouted, mainly calling out to passerby. Behind them, ropes groaned under the weight of crates of fish and seafood being lowered onto the wharf. Anchored at the harbor's mouth, the king's ship creaked, its timbers rubbing against the pier, the royal flag floating lazily in the afternoon air. And Phoenix, waving the flag of victory. Well done. No chime for the end of the race. Doesn't seem to be any chime for when I start the timer either. Only a chime for when the race actually begins, which, dare I say, is not as helpful. I mean, you at least say something for now. Now that I know that some sort of audible is needed, I am trying my best. I do apologize, though, if I happen to miss a race, here or there. Hello, Firebeef. I see you. Right, where was I? Ah, yes. A woman sat behind a market stall near the boat's gangplank, enticing people to buy her wares. "An oyster, Princess Ayla?" she shouted. Ayla took the shellfish, tilted her head back, and swallowed it in one gulp. "Divine," she groaned, licking the iodine from her lips. Evander stared, mouth agape. "Would you like to try one?" she asked. The prince scrunched his nose in disgust. "I'd rather not, thank you." Ayla shrugged and turned to the woman. "His loss." And both women laughed. Maybe just a bell to sign the end of a... Wow, I can read. Maybe just a bell to sign the end and a horn for the start. I seem to have misplaced my horn and bell. Fire Beeve, how was your weekend, sir? Oh, and there's a break in the story, by the way. Which means it's tea time. You know, more cowbell. As a drummer, you would think I would like cowbell, but I really don't. I find the noise to be a bit jarring, honestly. It's kind of weird. Don't really want to see you blow your own horn anyway. I see what you did there. It's really been a crappy week. I'm really sorry to hear that, man. I know from last time we spoke, things haven't exactly been great with the job loss and everything, so. Has there been any reprieve from that? Any hope on the horizon? Needs more cowbell? No, it doesn't. Much, much less cowbell, actually. Yes, anyone that can give hugs to Firebeeve, that would be greatly appreciated. Oh, and a win on the races. Nope, got a meeting 8 a.m. with lawyer. Ugh. I hope it's a productive meeting. Let's see. There's your horn. The next race begins shortly. The vessel glided out of the port with only the tiniest of ripples lapping against its hull, catching the sunlight on its gleaming deck. Ayla leaned against the edge of the boat and held her head up to the sea breeze. She inhaled the salty tang, enjoying the sea spray slapping her cheeks as the vessel cut through the taller waves. The prince stood by her side, hands gripped on the railing, his knuckles matching the color of his white face. This was his first sea voyage. Not that they were going far. An hour at the most to admire the coastline. As the two kings discussed matters of trading on the top deck, the queen joined them, unwilling to miss out on the conversation. A dolphin made its way through the sea, its body arcing in and out of the water. Ayla missed her dolphin friend, especially when they swam together. "Look!" Ayla shouted, nudging Ovander in the ribs. When Ovander made no comment, Ayla turned to him. "Are you all right?" she asked, placing her hand over her husband's. Eyes closed, he swallowed hard. "Relax and enjoy the view, Ovander." The prince clutched the cold metal even tighter and managed to prise open an eye, only to close it a second later. "I think I'll sit for a bit," he said, and headed to a wooden crate on the other side of the vessel. Ayla chuckled and called out to a few fishermen bringing in their nets from the top of a rather large rock. Thalia came to stand next to her daughter-in-law. "I don't suppose you know anything about mermaids?" the queen asked, making Ayla jump. The young princess turned to face her mother-in-law. "No, I don't. I suppose I'm too young to know." Thalia tapped her fingers on her chin. I suppose you are." What do I feel like she knows something? Certainly giving off that vibe. The cool sea breeze drifted across Ayla's face, chilling the perspiration on her forehead. A quiver in her stomach, which had nothing to do with the movement of the ship, brought a bitter taste to her mouth. She needed to avoid her mother-in-law, especially now that the Queen had decided to interrogate her about mermaids. A week ago, when Thalia had suggested this visit, Ayla had been excited, eager to see her home and family. She changed her mind since, worried how the royal family would react if they ever found out about her mermaid side. The Queen would never accept Ayla's children if they ever turned out to be half fish. And that, folks, brings a close to Chapter 4. Well done, Purple. Someone seems to be hydrophobic. Yes, a little seasick. Needs to find his sea legs. She suspects, probably because someone reported that Isla wouldn't let the maid. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because she told the maid to shoo, go away. I don't need your help. I mean, if a maid wants to bathe me, I'm not gonna say no. I'm absolutely joking. Go away with yourself. Tea, anyone? Delicious. Most men wouldn't say no. That's probably why they don't get bathed. Right. Before I start the next race and the next chapter, we have 3 minutes until ads start. So, I am going to start them now, and while they're running, I'm going to do a couple of wheel spins for the Wheel of Games. If you haven't gotten up in a while, who's a dirty boy? This would be a great opportunity to do so. All right. Let's do it.
Streamer picks X10.
I get to pick times 10.
Regular curls X5.
Regular curls times 5. You know what? Let's do 3.
Streamer picks X5.
Wow. All right. Okay. So I'm picking 15, and I have 5 regular curls. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So let's do the thing. Come back, camera. You're drunk. There we go. All right. Nailed it. Just in time for the ads to finish. Excelente. Some of you have heard me talk about user tests in the past, where I essentially get paid to give feedback about a site or a function or, wording on a website, stuff like that. So I have one set up for tomorrow afternoon, but then I managed to somehow snag one for tomorrow night. So I'm going to leave and go to do this fix at someone's house with their flooring. And then when I get back, a short time later, I'm going to have another user test, which is like 10:15. It's like, starting to wonder why I did this to myself. But money is money. That is some delicious tea. All right, chapter 5, folks. And more races. Here we go. Moving on to race number 10, the track. Thank you for the lurk, Fubar. 60 seconds on the clock. Races. Yeet. You're funny. Redthorn, please feel free to do shout-outs. Purple, you as well, whenever you see fit. They won't play videos, so no one's gonna get it'll just be text, so nothing's gonna interrupt the story, if that makes sense. Chapter 5, page 39. 2 months had passed since Ayla and the royal family had returned to Lusania after their visit to Saria. Apart from Thalia mentioning the delicate subject of mermaids, the week spent in her homeland had been a success. Ayla had formed a closer bond with her maid, and Ovander had been pleasant, asking questions about the running of the kingdom and taking an interest in Saria's port. Maybe with time, he'd pull away from the Queen's apparent hold over him and confide more in his wife. Although she wasn't suffering with morning sickness, Ayla knew she was expectant. She'd missed her menstrual flux, and her breasts had become larger, pulling painfully across her bodice of her gowns. Still, she wanted to wait at least another month before telling her husband. Under the pebble-shaped October moon, Ayla stood by the edge of the castle's lake, rubbing her lower abdomen and admiring the water's surface shimmering like sparkling dust. Sybil was awake of her Sybil was aware of her promenade to the lake. Not that her maid needed to be informed. It was Ayla's custom to take a walk after the evening meal. She enjoyed the peaceful sounds and the fresh air of the forest. The woody scent of the forest nearby floated in the air, mingling from time to time with the subtle fragrance of shrub leaves. Ayla had a sudden urge to swim. The deep hue of the water begged her to join it. Why do I feel like this is when she's going to get caught and she's going to have to flee for her life? Because remember, on the back of the book, it talks about her living in the forest, or, being shunned to the forest or something like that. Abandoned in the forest. Yes. Left in the abandoned forest. So, I feel like her going for a quick dip is going to get her in trouble. But let's find out. Gazing around, she slipped off her cotton shift and stepped slowly into the water. A lazy tingling whirled up from her toes to her waist. Ice rushed through her veins, and her mouth filled with a tang of brine. Advancing further into the water, her legs reshaped and transformed into a tail. On her back, Ayla admired the smiling moon, so peaceful and bright. Each time it escaped from behind thick clouds, she caught her tail shining in its reflection, revealing a rainbow of scales. With effortless movement, she swam to the other side of the lake. Water was her freedom, her release from stress. Not that she'd had any problems back in Syria. Lusania was a different matter, though. She swished her long tail and skimmed through the water, urging herself forward, unwilling to stop. It had been so long since cool water had run over her body and through her hair. Turning onto the back, she glided her arms over the lake surface. The water felt silky, a big difference from what she was used to in the salty sea. An owl hooted, and Ayla snapped out of her dreaming. Time to return to the castle. Not that she would go amiss. Evander never spoke to her and rarely came to her room. Wouldn't it be their room? Super's doing too many things at once. Uh-oh. Sybil had been dismissed earlier, so no worries on that front. But Ayla knew the day would come when she'd have to tell Sybil about her mermaid side. The young woman hadn't mentioned anything up until now, but Ayla had caught her questioning looks whenever she dismissed her maid at bath times. The sound of splashing echoed in Ayla's ears. She swished her tail and brought herself upright. Frantic arms slapped down on the water's surface on the other side of the lake. Someone was struggling to keep their head above the surface. With a quick flick of her tail, Ayla glided through the water. She reached her target just as the person's head disappeared. Ayla reached out and grabbed the woman's coif, pulling her head above the surface. Sybil? Ayla, I can't swim. Then why are you in the bloody water? Ayla placed her arms under Sybil's armpits, but the maid continued to slap the water. Relax, Sybil, or you'll pull us down. Sybil coughed as water entered her mouth. Trust me, Sybil. Relax, I have you. Ayla sensed her maid's body slacken, making it easier for them to reach the lake's edge. Are you all right? Ayla asked as she guided her maid to safety. I think so. Ayla brought her maid to the side of the lake and waited. Sybil hoisted her body out of the water and crawled to sit on dry ground. You saved my life, Sybil panted, turning to face the princess. Where did you learn to swim like... Sybil's voice caught at her throat when her mistress pulled herself out of the water. Ayla observed Sybil staring at her tail slowly turning back into legs. Mouth agape, the whites of her eyes large in the moonlight, Sybil looked like someone who had just seen a specter. Dry, winning yet again. I think Dry's trying to take first place, folks. Ambitious. Race number 12 on the clock. Haha, yep. There is no honk. I haven't found a worthy replacement for it yet. Perhaps I should make one for the races. Like a RS race start. That way it doesn't get confused with SR, which is usually song request. That's not a bad idea. What were you doing here? Ayla questioned. I saw you leave the castle without your cloak. It's rather cold this night. I thought you might... But how did you end up in the lake? I saw you lying on the water, and I thought you were... dead. I took a step nearer, slipped and fell. The lake's deeper than I thought. Ayla twisted her wedding ring fast around her finger with her thumb. This must be kept a secret, Sybil. You understand that, don't you? Ayla's voice cracked, and a cold sweat coated her body. Of course, Sybil rushed to say, crouching next to her mistress. You saved my life. If the royal family ever finds out, I dread to think of the outcome. Your secret is safe with me. Sybil rested a hand on Ayla's arm and gave it a reassuring squeeze. We've all heard about mermaids, but I never thought I'd live to see one. 'Tis beautiful magic. Ayla forced a weak smile. Let me assist you in dressing, Sybil said, helping Ayla to stand. The princess raised her arms for the maid to pull the shift over her head. Water dripped from Ayla's hair onto her back. She tilted her head to one side and wrung the locks the best she could. Wrung her locks the best she could. Here, take your cloak. We'll stop the water soaking your shift. What about you? Ayla said, wrapping the garment around her, thankful for its warmth. You're drenched to the bone. I'll survive. Sybil wrung the bottom of her gown and squeezed out the water from her coif before the two women headed back to the castle. And Kay, making sure everybody knows she's not out of the race just yet. All right, race number 13. Ding! Adverse feelings flashed through Ayla's mind. Shame for not confiding in her mate earlier. Relief she could finally share her secret with someone. In the beginning, she hadn't been sure of Sybil's loyalty. After all, it had been the queen who had chosen the woman to be her maid. But over the months, she'd come to trust the young woman. And now that her secret was out, she felt a lot lighter. Good job, Super. Way to type play. As if a weight had lifted from her shoulders. I would have told you about my mermaid side, Ayla said, letting out a heavy sigh. The right moment never arose, and I didn't know how you would react. You need not justify yourself. I am not but your maid. Ayla grabbed Sybil's arm and brought her to a halt. Don't say that. You're more to me than just a maid. I regard you as a friend. The only person in this castle I can trust, and I'm eternally grateful for your company. Sybil was about to reply when a rustling sound stopped her. Quick, she said, pulling Ayla behind a tree. From where the two women hid in the shadows, Ayla could just make out a couple in an embrace. Bit of stolen time with a lover never hurt, Sybil said in Ayla's ear. The joyous tone to Sybil's voice made Ayla's ribs squeeze tight. She'd love to have a bit of attention from her husband, but up until now, Olvander hadn't shown any, often keeping to himself. She wondered if that was due to his lonely childhood. Without siblings, he no doubt played alone in the bleak castle. But then, she was an only child. The rough bark chafed her cheek as she pressed her face against the trunk to watch the couple, mesmerized by the way their bodies entwined. Such complicity. Their voices low, no doubt whispering their love. The woman rubbed her body against her lover, and the man let out a groan before he pulled back abruptly. Ouch! The woman released the man's hand and giggled. There, now I've left my mark on your hand. You belong to me. Ayla suppressed a gasp and stared at Sybil, who placed a finger over her lips. The princess had never, ever heard of a woman doing that. Claiming someone like a piece of property, leaving their mark like farmers would brand cattle. Caitlin! The man chuckled and raised the woman's skirts. Best go, Sybil murmured. No need to watch what follows. Oh, come on. Well done, Purple. I almost said, well done, Pookie. Well done, Pookie. Race number 14. Hear ye, hear ye. Race number 14, everybody. Thunder exploded in the distance. Both women turned to the direction of the noise. You're right. We need to get back, Ayla said, her eyes scrutinizing the sky. The two women crept low, taking care to avoid fallen branches. Neither of them spoke while they left the shelter of the trees and raced across the gardens to the castle. You can call me Pookie. Okay, Pookie. The owl hooted again, and Ayla shuddered. She gazed up at the dark, eerie tower to find a silhouette standing at the top window, the person's shape accentuated by the torchlight flickering behind it. Trying to figure out who is talking. Ayla, what are you doing out here? How much you want to bet the male part of that duo was the prince? I mean, the thought had crossed my mind, but at the same time, if they could see that much detail, I feel like he would have been more like... I feel like she would have figured it out. But I could be wrong. But it certainly... that same thought had definitely crossed my mind. The two women froze at the queen's shrill voice. Quick, Sybil whispered. Give me your cloak and hide. In one swift move, Ayla threw her cloak to Sybil and darted around the corner of the stables. Gravel crunched beneath Thalia's footsteps. Your Highness, it's only me, Sybil. Peeking from her spot behind the stables, Ayla saw Thalia rush up to the maid. The queen stared at Sybil without speaking, when the silence was shattered by a slap across Sybil's cheek. What are you doing outside at this time of night? And why are you wearing the princess's cloak? Ayla bit the back of her hand while she waited for Sybil's answer. Well, the Queen hissed. I needed a bit of fresh air, Your Highness. And you stole Ayla's cloak? I did not. Silence! The Queen held out her hand for the garment. Do you expect me to believe that? The princess said I could wear it, Sybil pleaded, handing the cloak to the Queen. Well, it's against the rules, and she needs to be told. Ayla's mouth turned dry. She needed to get back to her room. Just like you, Redthorn, this may be your first win for the night. But get back to your room, right now. Or type !play for race 15. Edging around the corner of the stable, she spotted Bodis with his fingers wrapped around his belt, staring across the courtyard. Pulse racing, Ayla shrank into the shadows and stood with her back against the wall. Had he seen her? She'd know soon enough. The Queen would surely be informed. The hunter stepped back into the stables, freeing the way for the young woman. Once again, Ayla turned the corner and crept along the wall to the kitchens. From there, she ran to her bedchamber. Back in her room, Ayla released the tension in her muscles and let out a long breath. She'd made it back before the Queen, but only just. Moments later, the bedroom door opened wide and her mother-in-law entered. Princess Ayla. Ayla whirled round to the Queen's voice. Your Highness? She said, drying her hair in a large linen cloth. I didn't hear you knock. I believe this is your cloak, the Queen said, holding out the garment. I believe it is, Ayla replied, trying to keep the nervousness from her voice. I lent it to Sybil. She wanted a bit of fresh air. Behind the Queen, Ayla caught a hint of a smile on the maid's face. Does she not have a cloak of her own? Thalia asked, throwing the garment on the nearby chair. I dare say she does, but mine is warmer. Warmer for what? The woman is soaked to the skin. Ayla continued to dry her hair. The Queen raised her eyes a fraction. Be careful, little princess. Very careful. Ayla was about to retaliate, but decided to hold her tongue. It wouldn't be right to be disrespectful. Could you please help me dress for bed? Ayla asked Sybil, bringing her conversation with the Queen to an end. If you'll excuse me, Your Highness, Ayla added, waving Sybil to come forward. Thalia's lips tightened, and an angry grunt sounded in the back of her throat. Ayla saw the flare in the Queen's eyes. After a moment's hesitation, Thalia swished her skirts and left. The princess and the maid stared at each other for a few seconds, and both let out a relieved sigh. And then there was a break in the story. Which means more tea. The only thing that's missing from this tea, and I should work to remedy this, chocolate digestives. A cup of tea's best friend. Magnificent. Dry, thank you for the hydrate. Cheers. I love chocolate digestives, and I have not had any in such a long time. You deserve it, man? Well, thank you. We all deserve to hydrate every now and again, don't we? The door to Ayla's bedchamber crashed against the wall as Ovander entered the next morning. Startled, Ayla got to her feet in a flash. Her husband stumbled to one of the chairs and dropped down on the cushion. With a leg hanging over the armrest, he saluted her with his goblet and took a long sip. Ayla frowned. Something had happened. Evander took another mouthful and wiped his lips on his shirt sleeve, leaving a crimson stain behind. The thick logs crackled and popped, eaten away by the bright flames. Even with the warmth of the hearth radiating through the room, Ayla shivered. The glint of her husband's heavy-lidded eyes was dangerous, and she didn't like that snarl on his face. Oh, okay. What happened to your hand? Ayla asked, eyeing the bandage around Evander's left hand. One of the horses took a nip at me. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry your little head about. Doesn't seem big enough for a horse bite. Ayla's eyes narrowed until all she could focus on was the white piece of linen covering her husband's injury. You know, okay, I think you may have, you thought it, or I thought it, you said it. You could have been fooling around. With who? Not sure. Final race, everybody. 60 seconds on the clock. Get your balls on the track. Mother said you're with child. There was a mocking tone to his voice. Ayla gulped, pressed the flat of her hand against her stomach. How did the queen know? At only 2 months pregnant, Ayla hadn't said anything yet, just in case she lost a child early on. So, now you're carrying my child, you need to rest. His dark eyes scrutinized her over the rim of his glass. I'm fine. Ovander stood slowly and faced her. I said, you need to rest. The woman he really wanted to marry was rejected for whatever reason. Make sure you tell them all first. Don't want saggy balls on the track. So true. Ayla didn't like the twitch on the side of his mouth, the one that shouted, "Do not contradict me." She'd grown to know his bad mood over the past months. It stuck to him like bees to honey. Are you happy? I am with child, Ovander? She dared ask. Ovander gave a dismissive shrug, gulped the last mouthful of wine, and stood. The kingdom needs an heir, and with that duty done, I can now do as I please. Ayla's breath caught in her throat. How should she take his last comment? The prince had never mentioned anything like this before. Then again, the man wasn't one for expressing his feelings. She never knew what was going on in his mind or his motives for doing things. She opened her mouth to say something, but decided to let it go. So, no more horse riding, he said, distracting her from her thoughts. But the prince raised an arrogant finger, silencing her. Well done, Red. You took the last race. I guess we'll find out soon enough who is on the podium. Ayla pursed her lips. What she didn't like about her husband's attitude lately was his rudeness. He'd often refused to answer her questions in the past, but recently, when in a mood, he'd stop her even opening her mouth. Evander held up his goblet. No more drinking. No more sleeping together. I don't want anything to happen to this child, he added, lightening the harshness in his voice. I have plans for my future, and I don't want you spoiling them by losing my heir. Gotta duck out. Good night. Good night, Kay. Sleep well when the time comes. Ayla concealed her surprise. From what he'd just said, it didn't appear she'd be part of his future. She'd been so set on trying to win him over, even believing that once the child was born, he'd change, and she would finally have the happy marriage she dreamed of. Babies don't do that. As with regard to no more sleeping together, they hadn't shared the same bed that often anyway. She could count the number of times he'd visited her chambers on one hand. Now that suspicion had shown its ugly head, he could stay away forever for all she cared. The union had never been one of happiness. Evander had seen to that. And now she had to put up with living in this miserable castle until the end of her days. A shudder ran through her. They'd never been close, and probably never would be. In a way, falling pregnant was a godsend. Evander would leave her in peace, unwilling to take unnecessary risks, and she wouldn't have to put up with his unsupportable moods. But that also meant no more horse riding, which meant no more freedom. She didn't think her condition would interfere with swimming, but the prince would no doubt be watching her every move, and that would be hard to accept. Tears of frustration rose to her eyes. Why did her father have to choose such an awful husband? And that concludes the chapter. And it ends on such a fantastic question. It makes you wonder if Papa really cared about her feelings at all. I'm thinking the answer was not so much. He just got lucky. Her father had a good marriage. It worked out for him. He just assumed, probably, that it would work out for her. It's like, I imagine how, I don't really know how Tinder works, but you see a good-looking person, and you're like, surely it would work. And then you find out that that's all they are, and everything else about them sucks. All right, let's put some points on my fancy piece of graph paper. Give myself some space. Let's see. Today is the 7th. Let's see, we've got first, second, third. Let's take a look, shall we? Drum roll, please. Oh. Finish. Or they don't tell you they have a hamster. Not the hamster. In third place, we have Pookie. Well done, Purple. Play, really. Nice wings, by the way. In second place. So third place gets you 1 point. So well done. 1 point earned. In second place with 2 points. Phoenix. Well done. And in third place, taking 3 points. Dry. What? Well done, Dry. So as it stands right now, 6 of you all have points. For the first 2 sets of races, on the 2nd and today the 7th, there's no duplicate winners here. So, Kay has points, Stump Mama's Mama has points, Verda has points, Dry has points, Phoenix has points, and Purple. So there you go. I guess the question remains on Tuesday, will we have any repeats? I don't know. You know what else I didn't think about until right now? What do we do if there's a tie? We'll have to think about that. Could be a 2-way tie, 3, 4, who knows? Set that aside, keep it safe. Well done. Let's see how the points came to be. All right. Ooh, Purple and Phoenix, only 4 points difference. That was close. Live rap battle. I like that idea. But the distance between second and first was expansive, with a 30-point lead. Now, Purple, Phoenix had 3 more races than you. If you had 1 more race, maybe 2, you might have actually snuck up to second. It's very possible. Very possible. But either way, valiant effort by all. Well done. Points are collected. Now, as far as our book's concerned, we're going to read chapter 6 here, but I'm trying to figure out at what point in our story does the, being left in the abandoned forest part kick in. It's got to be sooner than later. No one's sneaking up on me behind. Nope. Not tonight. All right, so for fun, I'll turn on some random races. Guess this will be my crochet time so I can win races. There you go. Either miscarriage or a female mermaid child. Yeah, I mean, the back of the book doesn't say that she and her child are left to survive in the abandoned forest. It just says she is. So it could also be one of those deals where she has the child and then they just say, all right, get rid of her. Her job's done. I could see that being the case too. All right. 19 minutes until ads. Chapter 6, everybody. Here we go. The months had flown by and spring had arrived. Ayla loved the month of March, when the days grew longer and the vegetation that had been in hibernation slowly came back to life. Winter had said its goodbyes. Spring was here to stay. At least until summer. At 6.5 months pregnant, the young princess ate for 2 and had suffered very little morning sickness. From what she'd gathered from the midwife, all was going well. Apart from a few visits to her room, Evander spent his time hunting or traveling around the domain with... The hell? Oh, I see what's happening. People are getting yeeted. Love that. I got distracted. Evander spent his time hunting or traveling around the domain with the king. She only saw the royal family at mealtimes, where they spoke about political aspects of the kingdom. On 1 or 2 occasions, she tried to give her point of view, having discussed such things with her father back in Syria. The family ignored her. Thank God she could count on Sybil's company. A faint tune from a distant flute hung in the air, a melancholy sound, gradually sapping the young woman's morale. Apart from the crackling of the fire and the faraway music, her bedroom remained quiet. Ayla hated that. She was used to hearing the waves lapping against the rocks, the squawking of seagulls, fishermen calling to one another on the quay. Here in Lusania, all appeared silent. Movement in her abdomen, and Ayla stretched from her late nap. The adorable sensation of her baby kicking brought a smile to her face. At least, that cheered her up. Stuntmama's mama is the only one left. Poor dog. It's a melancholy. Just kidding. Stuntmama's mama was yeeted as well. Well, let's try again, shall we? This one looks much safer. I've lost my place. The evening hush was now broken by the household servants finishing their daily chores. Outside, the trill of a nightingale floated through the air, and stable boys called to one another, settling the horses for the night. The last beams of sunlight entered the tall windows and lay across the opposite wall, already fading to give way to the night. Hands outstretched, Ayla headed to the fireplace. It wasn't so much the flames from the fire that warmed her. It was the life glowing. Yes, the life glowing in her womb. I thought I was reading that wrong, but I was not. A gentle knock sounded at the door, and Sybil entered. You don't want to look at me. Let's watch Phoenix. Flutter, flutter, flutter. Stab, stab, stab. I didn't know if you'd be awake, she said, coming to stand next to the princess. Only just. All I seem to do is sleep and eat. This is normal in your condition. Would you like me to fetch something from the kitchen? I believe Cook has made a delicious venison pie. Stop it, Ayla laughed. You're making my mouth water. What kind of dog never throws anything away? A hoarder collie. What kind of dog lives on the edge? A border collie. Sybil, Ayla called. Thank you. Sybil stopped and turned. For what? If it wasn't for you, I'd be so lonely. I really appreciate your company. As I do yours, Sybil rushed to say. It's a pleasure being with you. Ayla smiled. Take your time. I'm going to stretch my legs around the gardens. Sybil nodded and left the room. And then there was a break in the story. See, this is what happens when I start entering races. I win. Yes. That's right. I win. Ooh, this one's fun. Oh, I remember this one. We are all gonna die. Good luck. A violent wind swirled around the courtyard, slapping the royal banners against the tower's battlement, teasing Ayla's veil. Both hands on her rounded stomach, she breathed in the cool evening air. It was that time of day when dusk had begun to don its black cloak, ready to welcome the night. A raven cawed from high above, adding its voice to the whipping sound of the banners. Ayla raised her head and searched the sky. Only just visible in the fading light, a second raven appeared. Ayla turned to the tower and gasped. A third bird flew out of the top window, its silhouette clear in the flickering torchlight. Shivering more from apprehension than the cool wind, Ayla kept her eyes glued to the tower. A loud screech. Spooky. A loud screech filled the air, and a figure materialized at the window. In the dim light, she couldn't quite make out who. Judging from the height of the window, it looked to be the figure of a child. That had been the third time Ayla had seen someone up there. Who could it be? Only one way to find out. She headed for the main door where Bodis stood. She headed for the main door where Bodis stood to the left, hiding in the shadows. Her heart rate quickened. Not one part of the man's body moved. Relaxed and discreet, the hunter's stone-gray cloak blended in well with the castle. He never spoke much, but had eyes everywhere. Ayla entered the castle and headed to the bottom of the stairway, keeping her footsteps silent. Shadows thrown from the torches danced on the walls as she gazed up into the dim light. Swallowing, she ignored the slight draft. She ignored the slight draught on her face and set a foot on the first step, ready to mount. I'm getting a phone call from what seems to be a random number. Pulling up the folds of her gown, she struggled up to the top of the tower, stopping now and again to make sure no one had followed. Well, this is a brutal marble race. My goodness. At the top of the stairwell, with her hands rubbing her lower back, Ayla stopped to catch her breath. A sturdy wooden door, slightly ajar, faced her further down a narrow corridor. On approaching, she caught movement and voices. She recognized one of them. The Queen. Ayla's breathing changed from erratic to shallow as she peeped through the gap in the doorway. A wispy mist slithered across the floor to a thin, childlike figure clothed in purple. White strands streaked the woman's anthracite hair. Anthracite? Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Which fell around her shoulders like strings of damp straw. Ayla shuddered at the look in her round, inky eyes, wild and cunning. "Well, what do you see, witch?" Thalia asked. Her voice, good grief, her voice raising to a shriek. "Not so impatient," croaked the old woman, licking her thin, bloodless lips with her black tongue. "I see what I see. Give my ashes time to flourish." The witch leaned forward and blew gently onto the embers glowing on a metal plate on the table. Waving her hands in the air, she began to mumble, her voice growing louder and louder until bright flames shot up. The silence lengthened. The witch's eyes narrowed. "Well?" the Queen asked, tapping an impatient foot on the flagstones. "I see a broken kingdom. Broken with fire." "Which kingdom?" "How should I know?" "But you have the sight. You can tell the future." "I cannot see what I cannot see," the witch snapped. "I cast spells and make potions. You decided I could read the future." The Queen let out an exasperated sigh. "Please tell me what you see." From a pot next to the metal plate, the witch took a pinch of powder and hurled it onto the flames. They sizzled and leapt up, giving off a putrid smell of rotten eggs. "Your kingdom has nothing to fear," the witch said, rubbing her chin. "So, it's not our kingdom that will be broken by fire? We won't perish?" The witch ignored the Queen's questions. "And the babe?" Thalia asked. "What about it? Will it survive? Will my grandson survive?" "Of course he will. But beware of the maid. And the potion. Don't go strong on the potion and ruin everything." Ayla gasped. The witch wanted to make Sybil ill? "And Ovander?" the Queen asked. "You have no worries there. He listens to you. Always has done and always will. Because of what you promised. But his wife is strong-willed." Well, I don't know anyone that ever finishes that particular race. Feels pretty much impossible. This one, however... Well, we'll find out. Book bonk. Ow, that was... Why did I do it so hard? Ayla backed away from the door. She knew Olvander obeyed his mother without question. What could the queen have promised her son? If she could pull the prince away from under his mother's skirts, maybe she'd have a chance of making their marriage work. Oh, here she goes, hoping again. And with the birth of their child, she would gain status. As the mother of a future king, surely she would be considered with more respect. That's all I see, the witch said, moving away from the dying flames. The fire will speak no more tonight. Ayla turned and fled down the corridor. If the witch could see no more, the queen would be sure to leave at any moment. With her skirts held high, Ayla began to descend the stairwell. She'd only taken a half-dozen steps when she bumped into a hard chest. Letting out a shriek, she slapped a hand over her mouth while the other rested on her abdomen. The prince's unexpected arrival had set the baby kicking. What are you doing up here? Olvander asked, placing a hand on either side of her, palms flat on the wall. His breath smelt of stale wine. I came up to... Ayla's voice faded with her eyes, while her eyes darted around, seeking something to justify her presence. She didn't like the prince being this near. Answer me, woman. His voice stung as he towered over her, pinning her to the wall with the weight of his body. Ayla cleared her throat, attempting to calm her voice. Vander pulled back and placed a finger onto his wife's chest. Please return to your room. His eyes had blackened to two dark pieces of onyx and a gaze that resembled that of a snake's. Ayla held her breath, waiting for the explosion. She met his glare, determined to not be the first to look away. Everything around her ceased to exist. It was her and the prince. Did you hear me? Yes. Ayla's throat had gone dry, making her voice sound like a flat croak. A ghost of a smile played on Olvander's lips before he removed his finger from her chest. Please don't venture up here again. You may fall, and I don't want any harm to come to the child. It's for your own good, dear wife. Ayla nodded, thankful he hadn't pushed the matter further. She pulled away from the wall, grabbed the folds of her skirts, and headed down the stairway, grateful to be out of his unnerving presence. And that, folks, was a little quicker chapter 6. But excellent timing because, well, it's pretty much time to wrap up. On Tuesday, we'll continue with page 55, also known as chapter 7. And I fear her demise of being abandoned comes soon. Sooner than we might expect. Difficult to say, really. Either way, I look forward to finding out. It's been an interesting read so far. Now, where? There it is. Let's take a quick look and see who we have streaming this evening that we may go say hello to. This has been a great stream. Thank you, Dry. I have very much enjoyed it myself. I appreciate the words of encouragement. I think
Yo, what's going on?
we'll go say hi to Thump. He is... what is he doing? He's playing Enshrouded. He popped his head in here earlier. He's a good dude. He's also trying to do some voice acting stuff. Helping him where I can. Although, if I'm being honest, there hasn't been a lot of voice acting lately for me. It seems to come in waves. So, at least I've still got the user testing stuff and the building of things. So, never a dull moment. I'm always busy. That's for sure. Loving this book. Nighty-night, everyone. Good night to you, Stunt Mama's Mama. Thank you for entertaining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. The pleasure, sir, has been all mine. If you could, please copy that raid message. We will go say hello to Mr. Thump. And then, as I said, we'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I hope you have an amazing night and an amazing start to your week ahead. Until Tuesday.
Oh, you a dick.
Anyway, so yeah, that. Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
Oh my God.
Welcome in. How we doing, man?